Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I want to talk about how I plan my books. I'm going to talk about the books that I have released and the book that I am currently writing, which involved more planning than most of the books I've written before. I would be showing you a bit of the material I used to plan Doris, but alas I have put that in a box that is currently in my wardrobe that I can't get to because of the things I piled on top of it. But anyway, we will talk about our Doris first. When it came to planning this novel, it was a relatively simpler process than I was used to, because the main major project I worked on before Doris was a young adult novel that I mentioned way back when I first started this channel, and I don't plan to revisit. I don't really like talking about it, but basically over the 5 years of writing that book, there was research into like British and Celtic mythology that I would note down. I would read it and I'd look for bits that I could take and transpose into the novel that would work well for me. I looked into other people, like other mythologies within the world, stole a lot from Buffy season 5, as we now know, and ultimately kept like long plans of that. Like I'm talking like A4 plans, but anyway, with our Doris, I originally conceived it as 13 monologues, which I then cut down to 10, and what I would do was I would write a sentence about what was going to happen within each monologue in here, and then when it came to writing that, I would then go and take however much paper I needed. Usually it was like one A4 page, and write down a further breakdown of each scene that was going to happen in that monologue. I mean, sometimes I would research stuff, like I had to research whether Laura Ashley sold towels in the 1960s, but that was all I could think of. Oh, and I also listened to a bit of Montevani. But otherwise, this was the probably least planned of all my books. It wasn't really... I never really planned properly, because I always looked at planning as being one of those things that really kind of stifled my creativity, because I remember when I was younger, I was working on the first ever draft of my children's book, and I ended up writing so much in this plan. I think it was like a 20-page plan of everything I wanted to happen, all the characters I wanted included. I actually ended up reaching the point where I was like, oh, well, that feels like I finished the book, so I don't need to write it now. And I didn't, and then a few years down the line, I took the characters and the ideas from that book, and I created a different world, created a different story entirely, with the same sort of like outcome. But yeah, with the children's book then, that was a similar thing of I planned sentence by sentence what was going to happen in the first 50 pages, and then I just wrote it, and then once I'd done the 50 pages, like, okay, and then you can really tell as well, because the latter half of that novel wasn't really planned at all. Indisputably Doris, again, not planned as thoroughly as you'd think. I wrote down chapter headings, sentences of what I wanted to happen, but this time I didn't, unless I really got stuck, unless I got absolutely stuck in like a quagmire of plot holes, not plot holes, but like, you know, when you just feel like you've written yourself into a wall or into a corner, then that was when I'd like get the A4 page per out and write down what I needed to happen in order to get there. Now, I picked up, oh no, that's the writing notebook. We get to the thing I'm currently writing, the secret book. The one that not even my mother knows about, and that I'm not really going to be telling you about. Which is currently taking space over these two books. I don't think... So... This notebook is taking the place of another A4 notebook that I have in my box of stuff. And basically, a few years ago I decided to write a novel set in Partridge Mews, which is where our Doris is set, so you could say that this is where the plan for that came in. And this was originally where I wrote down the idea for a book that I was writing. I am no longer writing that book, but I did steal the characters from it for our Doris, for Indisputably Doris, and for the book that I'm currently writing. Indeed, I created an entire plan for what Partridge Mews looked like before I turned it into this bigger town. But that is still the basis for for the setting of my current book. It's like Partridge Old Town. But in that A4 notebook, there is a diagram, a map, if you will, of what all the houses in these few streets look like, where the shops are, character names, where the characters live, the character ages, how different characters know each other, what the characters have been up to. In fact, I kind of knew a lot about this village before going in and writing Our Doris. Now it's a town, so it changed. And earlier this year, late last year, I wrote the plan in this book, and the plan is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 A5 pages in here, and turns out that this plan actually only goes from page 60 because I've written 60 pages of it before I actually got to the plot this year, but what can you do? But this is just like a sentence by sentence of what the main character is going to get up to. I've yet to include different, like, you know, the lull scenes, or the scenes where she's just by herself, or where she's thinking. This is just like telling me the main plot points that have to happen in order to have the climax that I want to happen. Then it came to actually writing the thing, and so there's 50 pages in this notebook. I'm recording on my phone, but on my phone there are a few pieces of dialogue that need to happen later on in the book. At the back of here, if I can see anything, I have one page where I got a bit stuck as to what I wanted to be said during a certain scene, so that is on here. Again, I included ages because I got a bit confused. In fact, I went back to my original plan and found out that I'd actually given 2 characters ages, that when I have been writing it, I've switched, so that was always fun. I know that as I go on as well, what's going to happen is I'm going to get stuck, and ultimately I'm going to end up filling out pages as to what I need to happen and then doing it that way. I also have bits of dialogue with characters that aren't going to be in it anymore. I have I know a lot about this current book, and it all comes from planning, but that's how I plan. Basically, didn't plan on going on for 8.5 minutes about this, but I just wanted to give you a little insight into where I'm currently at, because I can't tell you about my writing, but I can tell you that I am working on a book that I have planned quite thoroughly, but not enough that I've been put off by it. And I intended to write this book years ago and didn't for whatever reason. And now I am 60 pages in, with the idea that it won't necessarily be finished this year. I don't know when I'll be releasing work again, but that's perfectly fine. I'm quite enjoying this lackadaisical, relaxed approach to writing. In fact, I actually wish that this video had been a bit better and a bit more like one of those Jen Campbell videos where she shows you everything that she has on her desk, but I don't have a desk and I only keep notebooks, and I filled out the writing magazine wall planner yesterday and discovered that it actually doesn't have enough space for my writing. But what can you do? How do you plan? Do you plan? Do you have anything to plan? It's a question. I hope you got something out of this video, besides like sheer brain-numbing boredom. And until next time, that is all.